Welcome to Launch
Hello,
360
welcome with Kim.
and Dr. News.
So glad to have you
Now
back
hold, now hold
today.
the note
You
long
held
enough.
your
I hold the
note.
hell
You
long enough that
had your
time.
vibrato note. Had your vibrato going.
All right, you guys, we thank you for tuning in. We want to just jump in if that's all right. Just
Mm-hmm.
to jump in and get out so that we can make sure we stand to our half hour mark that we committed to 30 minutes or less.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? Ooh, was that Pizza
The
Hut?
pizza place and
Yeah,
like
was that Pizza Hut?
delivery and
No one Pizza Hut. Domino's.
Domino's or
Domino's. Yeah,
somebody.
30 minutes so you get it free, right? Do they still do
I don't know.
that? So we've been talking about a topic that we call your why determines your what. And I think that we have is this the sixth
This
episode?
is the sixth
Okay. The
episode.
sixth one.
Yes.
I probably ask that every time. I'm gonna forget. We've been just kind of running through using a story with Joash
Yeah.
from Second Chronicles, the
Mm-hmm.
24th chapter,
Yeah.
and we used that whole chapter.
Yeah, we did.
That whole chapter.
We
right.
went through it piece by piece.
Right.
Each part.
And that's how we got the episode. Right?
Well, it's almost like a 6-week
Yeah,
series.
it's a good series. It's a good series.
It
right?
is a
It's
good series.
I think it's good anyway.
Actually, helping us all to take a look at how and why we do the things that we do,
Right.
and then what we're doing, and
Right.
then actually at the end, what we're doing now is understanding why we are doing what we're doing.
Exactly.
So we can understand how to be careful of, some of the decisions and the choices we are making, because unmet needs will certainly do the driving if we're not careful.
If we're not aware of it.
If we're not aware, or if they're left unmet.
Right. So if you don't want to know, don't listen.
You don't want to get better. If you don't want to get better, then don't listen. You're going to get better if you listen.
This is a challenge here. So we started out, I think, in the first episode or the first part of the series. You just said your why determines your what, and we kind of defined what why was, and how what that unmet need was, and how it was misaligned or could be mistaken for a God-given purpose. And so we kind of cleared that up a little bit. Then what did we do next? We talked about where did we go after that? I don't remember.
Listen, we did the first part.
You don't know what you'll do.
Yeah, we talked about what you won't know what to do,
right.
but we started with certain parts, and we stopped at the 20th chapter on the first one,
Right.
20th verse. Then we added more.
Right. So for the second episode, we went to the next portion of verses, and we showed what Joash did, which I don't think he planned on doing, and it was kind of like outrageous.
Their choices.
So we tied that in to say if you're not understanding why you're doing a thing, or your unmet needs are driving you instead of your God-aligned purpose, then you don't really know what you'll do.
Absolutely.
And then from there we went into there's consequences for those things, and using Joash's story even more. And then from there we talked about Kim gave us 4 steps.
Well, actually, I didn't give 4 steps. I just went through all of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's right.
Through each part of the scripture and understanding why some of the things that were done and what makes us do them. So I kind of just covered the whole chapter.
She took it from a spiritual aspect, more of a biblical spiritual aspect. So then I came back last week and started. I was supposed to do the 4 steps that all 4 that we can do in the physical realm,
right?
To kind of check ourselves, if you will, so we can avoid being driven by those unmet needs. And I talked too much, so we only got through 2. Right?
No, but they were good.
So
it's good to do that, because then we have a clearer understanding, because I know I left with a really good understanding of, things that I need to be aware of and things that I need to be careful of, and just the way we think as human beings.
So if you listen to the episode last week, you'll hear how I explained how Kim comes to my defense.
Oh, God.
There she goes. She gonna make sure I'm all right. That's good. Keep making sure.
Well, I'm supposed to make sure you're
That's right.
But what I'm saying, if I don't agree, I'm not going to say nothing. You're going to just see me smile and giggle. But when I'm agreeing with what you're saying, I'm going to support you. So, but he does say I kind of have.
I'm just messing with her. I'm messing with her. But
maybe I have his back too much. Maybe I need to just go ahead and let you go ahead.
See, I wasn't saying that. You didn't hear me say that. I'll just give you an example. It was a real life teachable moment example. We just used it, right? So this week we're going to hit steps 3 and 4.
Yeah.
That you can put in place every day in a physical, be conscious of, so that you can make sure that you're operating your guideline purpose and not mistaking your unmet needs and letting them drive what you do.
But we're not going to jump to 3 and 4 until we review 1 and 2,
right,
because all 4 of them go together. And today we're going to get through them all.
Right, and we're going to do them quick. Okay. So if I talk too much, you'll see her bump me, right?
I'm not going to bump him. I'm just going to let him go ahead and do his thing, you know?
So the 4 steps, the first step we talked to you about was be aware. So, and again, these 4 steps, they're not rocket science. They're going to sound like, like Joe Ordinary, like, that's not real deep, because they're not real deep.
Yeah, we're not trying to do the deep thing.
But they are super powerful if you're conscious about them, consciously competent about them. So the first step is be aware of how you perceive yourself and how others are perceiving you, right? So that's really fact finding and information gathering. That's what that step is. So first of all, I need to be aware of how I perceive myself, because the things that have happened in my past have helped shape me, and form my thinking, which is where I am right now with how I feel about myself, right? So we have to we got to unravel that, and you got to unravel it backwards. So you can't like start from here and keep going and act like what happened yesterday didn't happen,
right? Because it definitely does affect us all.
You got to kind of do them at the same time. You got to start from here and move forward, but you still have to unravel those things from the back. And what we call that, as we're saying, you kind of got to make sense of your past. And one of the steps in making sense of your past, and that's not something we can talk about right now, we don't have enough time, is differentiating yourself. It's something that's called differentiating. So differentiating is exactly what it is, showing that you are different than everyone else around you. So even if I'm in a family or in a group or something, and we have the same conditions, whether it's socioeconomic or whatever the case, and similar things have happened to us, they affected me differently than they did you.
Absolutely.
Because we're different individuals, right? So you have to be aware of that and be okay with that. So you differentiate yourself. In essence, what you're doing, I'll just read how I have it, is you're trying to separate yourself from destructive, familial, and societal influences.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're saying there's no negative imprinting. So all these things could have happened to me and you and all of us. And, we were kind of going through it together and whatever. But now I'm at the other side, the other end, and I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to do something else. So you have to be able to not accept those negative imprints of yesterday.
Right.
So that's part of kind of making sense of your past. And that's that differentiation step. And that falls in with you being aware. You can't do it unless you're aware of how you feel about you, how you see yourself. And I think we talked about self-esteem and self-image and the difference between them. You have to go back and check the last episode to hear more about that. But that's the first step.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of step 1 is, and I'm going quick. I'm going to go.
You're good.
Okay. All right. Is being aware how others see you.
Yes.
So
important.
Now, me as a Black male, we have a lot of, chest up, chin out, it's hard for us to admit that we care about how other people see us.
Right.
Right. And you say, well, I don't care how much. Yeah, you do. And yes, you should. And yes, you should, not to the point that what they think drives what you do.
Right.
But what others think is a perception of you. And how people perceive you is their reality of you. So how people perceive you is how they will receive you. Right. And I don't care where that is. It's in a boardroom, classroom, wherever it is.
Right.
How you're perceived is how you will be received. So I need to understand how you perceive me so that anything I do is received in the vein that it's meant to be received.
Yeah.
So if that's off, if that's not matching, then I can't change you. That's information for me to see what do I need to adjust or why is happening, or do I even need to be in this arena?
Right.
I mean,
it's another another word for it is emotional intelligence, understanding.
Very good. Very good.
The way people, when they see you, when you walk into the room or when you speak, how do people see you?
Right.
And how do you come off?
Exactly.
And a lot of times we may not know this, but one thing for sure, unmet needs and your past issues definitely affect the way people see you, receive you, and the way you come off.
Because they're screaming.
Yeah.
They're screaming out loud.
Screaming loud.
Right? You think they're hitting, they're screaming out loud, and everyone else hears them and sees them. It's that thing that you need is what's reaching out of you.
Absolutely.
Whether you know it is or not, and people see it.
Yeah, I when I talk to different people, there's some person I talk with who kind of has this little temper tantrum at times. And when that temper tantrum is thrown, I really understand that they're really not feeling what they're saying. What it is they have something else going on deep inside that they're trying to battle or address or satisfy.
Yes.
It's not necessarily the temper tantrum. And you got to look over it. You got to look past it like it's not even there and look for the need.
Right.
You know, wasn't that a song years ago? He looked beyond all my faults and saw my needs. And that's what we have to do as believers.
He touched me.
No, it's not. He touched me. He's trying to start a whole song up in here. No. But anyway, we got to be aware of how we are perceived. And I like how Newt said, the way you are perceived is the way you are received. Yep. So we definitely have to be careful.
Right. And an example we gave was the Bathsheba, David, and Nathan triangle or circle, however you want to call it. And I got to remember to look at the camera, you guys. I'm looking down. David, you got to remember, David took care of the sheep as a youngster.
Yeah, he did.
So he was kind of outcast, pushed out into the field, wasn't brought in the house a lot. Even when the prophet came, they brought all his sons in except David, right? You know, so the prophet had to say, "Go get David."
Do you have any others?
You know, a stranger had to say, "Go get David."
Oh, I do.
Go get your son. More. Yeah. You know, so David had some unmet needs, and how he dealt with them was he took care of the thing that was defenseless, the sheep, right? So when David slept with Bathsheba and found out she was pregnant, sent her husband, I always forget his name, Uriah.
I think it's Uriah. I don't remember.
Bathsheba's husband out to the field so that he would get murdered.
Yeah.
Right.
To cover his stuff.
Yes, to cover his stuff. Right. I mean, that was a problem.
Yeah.
Right. So he's thinking he's getting away with it. Nathan the prophet comes and says, "Hey, there's this person in your kingdom, and he did this one, like he had all these things and took from the person who didn't have any."
Right.
So that right away took David's mind back to his childhood and his unmet needs, where the sheep were defenseless. He felt like he was cast out. So now he wants to now defend this person that Nathan's talking about.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Yeah.
Who did that? I'm gonna get him. Tell me who it is. I got this. Right. And Nathan says, "It's you.
You're the one.
You the poser." Right? You know, you the poser. And David, you know, melted like, what? You know, I am.
But the difference between David and Joash, as we talked about Joash, when Joash heard about his wrong, when he was confronted, he rebelled. Where David's heart, that's how his heart was like God, because he humbled himself and repented. So that's the difference. So when you're aware of yourself, how do you respond once you're made aware?
Yes.
You know?
So we spent a lot of time on that aware piece, but we wanted to do that because that sets up step 2, which is really find the trigger.
Find that trigger.
So find the trigger. So you got to understand a trigger, all a trigger is a thing that takes you back to the beginning, takes you back to that place that makes you want to do whatever that thing is that you want to do, whether it's drugs, alcohol, lying, stealing, cheating, I don't know, exercising, even positive things. Find that trigger. So find the thing that brings me back full circle so that I have to make a decision. Do I go left or do I go right? That's all a trigger is. Trigger can't make you do anything. It just brings you back, brings you back into remembrance of that moment. Yeah. You know, before that thing. So finding the trigger is, I guess was it Psalms 139? David talks about God searching him. Yeah. Looking inside him and searching him. That's the kind of work finding a trigger is. Yeah. So finding a trigger is not about the action. Right. So the action is usually how do I want to say it, a symptom of a deeper issue.
Yeah, it's not the issue.
Yes, it's usually a symptom. It's something that comes out of the issue. So the only example I could think it was gross, so I just left it alone.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but leave it alone. Whatever it is.
So it's well, like if you eat too many greens or something, and you get gas, right? So gas is a problem because it smells bad. Everybody wants to focus on the gas because it smells bad. Well, the issue was you ate too many greens. Well, greens aren't bad for you; they're good for you, right? But I know that they give me gas. But why do they give me gas? Well, it causes some kind of indigestion. They don't settle right in my stomach. Well, why not? Because maybe I don't drink enough water or don't eat enough this. And so it's what I'm trying to do is give you the example that you have to back up from the action and keep going back and say, why this? Why that? Well, whenever this happens, I notice these things. Well, why do I notice these things when that happened? Where is that coming from? So finding a trigger, that's the kind of work you have to do. Okay. Right. So we gave Gideon was the answer for that. Yeah, we used Gideon. Right. Gideon was the answer for that because Gideon had it was the threshing floor or wherever he was, and he was it was hidden. He hid it. I don't know if it was underground or it was behind something, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him. The angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, "Thou mighty man of valor." Yeah. And told him he was going to, to do some great things. And he's like, Me? I'm not mighty man of valor. I'm the littlest. Yeah, I'm the littlest from the smallest tip, Right. Why you say that about me? Right. So first of all, he didn't have a good perception of himself, which was the first step. And second, he didn't believe the perception that the angel had. The angel. Right. Right. And what it did was it took him back to his upbringing and all the things that had taken place where his tribe was the smallest. So he felt like the least of them. Yes. So anything that was said to him that made him confront those issues of what's the word? Insecurity and lack of confidence, that whole grasshopper mentality, any situation that was going to make him confront those things or have to confront them was going to be a trigger for him. Right. Brought him back to full circle, back to the needs or what was unmet or unfulfilled in his life. Right. Which was confidence, belonging, significance, things of those sort. Absolutely. All right. So we used him because that's kind of like a sneaky example. And that's how this works in us. It's sneaky. It's not allowed. It is. So step 3 and step 4. Let's go to the next step. Step 3, slow down. Slow down. So after you become aware and after you find these triggers, you have a new experience happen, a new stimulus, let's say, right? What you have to do when that new stimulus comes is you have to physically slow yourself down, physically slow yourself down. And here's how I do it. I find a focal point in the room. I mean, I don't know what it is. It could be anything. It could be a sneaker on the floor. It could be a light on the ceiling. It could be the doorknob. I'm looking across the room. I see a vase. Right. I can focus in on that vase. The object doesn't matter. Right. You can look at your own hand, whatever. Right. And then what you want to do is you want to breathe. Right. And you want to inhale on the count of 4, a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold that breath for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you want to let it out controlled. 4, 3, 2, 1, and you want to repeat that 2 more times. You want to do it 3 times in a row, right? So it sounds easy, right? But it's really not, because you're controlling something that doesn't want to be controlled, first of all, and your brain is already moving because you have this new stimuli. Right. So now it takes your focus and it slows your whole physiological sense down. So now what's happening is those dopamines, those endorphins, that cortisol that your body would be producing at that faster rate because of the new stimulus you got, it has slowed down because you slowed your body down. You've now gained control of this physical tempo that you had, and you can move your thoughts from the back of your brain, from that fight and flight syndrome, and move it to the frontal lobe, which is where our reasoning happening. And you can now address the principles of God, the laws, the character. You can now do things like weigh good and bad. Right. If I do this, what will happen? Right. If I do that, what will happen? Sometimes I write down a pro and cons list. If I don't have time to write it, I do it in my head. You can consider those things. But the biggest thing that happens right now is you can now see a little wider than just you. Like what my next action, what is it going to impact?
And who else?
Who is it going to impact outside of me? Right? So now you're thinking more like God, kingdom thinking. So now you're aligning your purpose back to a God-aligned purpose, because we're here with gifts for others, not for ourselves.
Right. That's good.
Right. So we that's the next step. Slow down. Slow down. So I want to warn you some things. So when you slow down and you get into that kingdom mindset, what I do is going to impact or affect something else. Once you get into that mindset, then three things are going to take place. The first thing is you're going to put yourself in a spot where you do not abort your purpose. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because your purpose is not for you, it's for others. So as you think more often of others than you do for yourself, you're more apt to operate in your purpose.
Right.
Now, the second thing is you got to get ready to get uncomfortable.
Right.
Get ready to get uncomfortable.
Anytime you address something that you used to do all the time and you have to shift, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Just prepare.
Yes. And the third thing what happened is that it's a lonely process.
Yeah.
So be prepared to get alone as you begin to slow down, and I'm going to say analyze kind of what's going on. That's not always something that happens. A person can't always help you do that.
Right.
So that could be an alone process. Not that the person is leaving you out there by yourself, but that's your work, not theirs.
Right.
So kill the noise, I like to say, and get by yourself. So we have be aware of how you perceive yourself and how you are perceived. Find that trigger.
Yeah.
So do that work, find that trigger, look for those patterns. Something happens. Why does this always take me here? Well, why does that even bother me?
Right.
And what happened so that bothered me? And when that happened, what else was going on? So you back yourself all the way up.
If you remember, these are the things that we were teaching throughout the whole 6 weeks while we were teaching the message itself. Now we're just breaking this part down so that you can hear it all raw. So you know how to work on yourself.
Yep.
And then the third trigger.
Well, we're on the fourth now.
Well,
we got to say the third. I'm sorry. The third trigger.
Slow down.
Pump your
Slow
brakes.
down. Think about it. You know, take a breath. Wait.
Yep.
You know, get control of your emotions. And the thing that I will say to you is, if immediately when you're dealing with something, the first thing that comes up is some rough emotions, then you know that you are in your flesh and it is something that definitely needs to be dealt with.
Right.
If emotions happen first before you start to think, oh, is that right? If immediately you get angry, you get frustrated, you start acting out, then that's something that needs to be dealt with for sure.
And I will tell you right away that the thing is not the problem.
Yeah.
The thing is not the problem.
Symptom of
the thing is really something you could just throw out the window and not bother you. But the reason why it's bothering you, that's what starts you on your journey to understand your triggers and your unmet needs.
Keep in mind, this is your why will determine what you do. Right. So the reason why. Okay, so our fourth one.
So after you do all that, do something different.
That's it.
That's step 4. Do something different.
Do something different.
It's one small thing. One small thing. It doesn't have to be a big giant thing. Just you have to do something different. Even if you're kind of, I don't know, if it's something that you can't really change the direction that you're going, you can do that differently.
You can think while you're moving.
Yes.
Have a different mindset,
right.
You know, a different thought process. Don't think so negatively
right.
about it.
Right.
Think positively. That's doing something different.
Right. Right. So I know just Kim and I at one point years ago were always at each other, right? And the biggest deal was I wasn't listening, right? So part of the healing and part of what started to make things better is what I did differently was I waited before I spoke. I waited. Now that wasn't always good because then I was thinking about what to say. I was speaking, but I was doing it differently than I would have done it before. Instead of just hashing back because of my own insecurities, my own need to feel significant and things of that sort. I was like, wait a minute, just hold that for a minute. Right? You're going to get a chance to talk. I'm telling myself this, you know, we're going to get a chance to talk. She ain't going nowhere. Right? Hold that. No, 10 more seconds, 10 more seconds. Just, and I'm giving it sounds funny, but it was doing the same thing. I couldn't not talk.
Right.
So at some point, we were going to have to.
Right.
Right. But I had to do it differently. I had to hold and wait and consider what I was going to say. And after a while, I started thinking in my mind, like, well, do I even need to say that?
Right.
And why is that even a problem?
Right.
Yeah, she's right. Or, yeah, you did do that, or you didn't do that. Or I was able to respond intelligently instead of reacting.
Right.
So that's part of
Same thing
that,
here.
doing something different. So I'm going to leave you with just this one piece here. We have a lot of notes here, but we're kind of at time, couple more minutes. But the biggest example I can give you is when the kings went and gave Jesus the gifts. Remember?
The wise.
Yeah. You gave Jesus the gifts. If you read that.
Magi.
Yeah, the Magi. It says, because remember King Herod was looking for Jesus, right? He knew that those kings had went to to see baby Jesus. So he had recon out looking for the kings to come back.
Yeah.
So if he would have seen the kings come back, he could trace where they were and be able to find baby Jesus. So you know what the kings did? They went home a different way. It says it exactly like that. They went home a different way. Not that they didn't go home, they went back home, but they went home a different way. Why? So that what was chasing behind them couldn't find them, couldn't find where they went, couldn't uproot their deposit. So we want to do a thing differently than we've done it before. If you keep doing the same thing, it's the same. So you always do what you always did.
You're gonna always get.
You'll always get what you always got. Yes. So I've got to do something different, or I'll keep perpetuating that same old cycle, and my unmet needs will be the thing that's driving me, even though I think I'm operating in purpose.
Right.
So those are 4 steps we have for you. Hopefully this was helpful. And you got something out of it.
Of course they did.
So I guess that's the next thing I was going to say as we get out of here. We want you to say it. We want you to say it out loud wherever you are. We don't want you to look, they come get you with the white men with the white coats or anything like that. But, so use some wisdom. Say it in yourself, write it down, whatever the case may be. But I want you to say, I am good ground. Because you are good ground. So I just say it. Go ahead and say it. Say it out loud. Let everybody know I'm good ground, right? And then I want you to let everybody know and let yourself know that everything grows here.
Everything grows.
Everything grows here. This is good ground right here.
This is good ground.
You're going to have to pluck up.
Right.
Because if everything's growing, some good things are growing, some bad things are growing too. So pull out the things that aren't supposed to grow. And we're just going to go ahead and say, but God, just water those seeds in that good ground. Water those seeds and let the sun of your Holy Spirit, let the fertilizer of your Holy Spirit help them grow, God, and maximize their growth, maximize their harvest. And we're praying, God, for wisdom for each and every person that hears this and listens to this, that the seeds that they produce, the harvest they produce, the seeds they produce from this harvest, God, they will be wise with them.
Yes, Lord.
They will not eat them. They will be wise with them. They will replant them in good ground so that they can acquire even more harvest to gain more fields and extend the influence of your kingdom here on earth, God. In Jesus' name, we thank you guys for listening. And we'll be back next week.
We are definitely back next week. We'll let you know a little bit more this week of what's going to be coming up.
Right.
As the Holy Spirit leads, we'll let you know. Is there anything else you want to say before? Because I got to let them know. This is Launch with Kim and
Dr. New.
And remember that we are launching with you, not launching at you.
Yeah, I was supposed to say it. What do you got to do it again?
Okay, we are launching with you, not launching at you.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. We'll see you back here next week. And remember to practice those 4 steps. Be aware, find the trigger, slow down, and do something different.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.